Welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is Kay Cote, and I'm your host for today's episode. And today on the show, I have Mary Cowger, CEO and founder of Austin Moss Creations. She's going to be my guest today. We're going to be sharing her journey to business ownership, best practices that she's learned, as well as challenges that she's faced to give you that inside look to what it's like to own and operate a business. Hi, Mary. So great to
Hi,
meet
Kay.
you. Thank
So
you for
nice to
being here.
meet you. It really is. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Well, before we dive into all things business, I'd love to learn a little bit about you. So feel free to share a bit about yourself.
So I started this company in December of 2021, and we had just moved from actually it was a little bit north of Chicago. And my two boys, middle of COVID, just got a divorce. They're in two homes and staying at home because they're not going to school because of COVID. We ordered a lot of puzzles from Amazon. But it was one of those things where, okay, some decisions had to be made. And the decision was, should I take this thing that I learned to love? And there's a story behind that too. There was a child that a girlfriend of mine's child suffered from autism, and he was pretty high up on the spectrum. And I went down a rabbit hole. This was about 7 years ago, but I went down a rabbit hole learning about that condition and what can possibly help it. And anything tactile, so marbles, kinetic sand, and moss happened to be on that list. So I went down that rabbit hole, and which led me to go to Hobby Lobby, get a little frame and a little glue gun, and I ordered some moss, and I created my first moss wall for him. And I loved the creation of the wall, but it was more what it did for him that was, it just transformed me. Like I said, he was pretty high up on the spectrum. So when I presented this wall to him, it was one of the first times I ever watched him be calm enough to really talk about things. How did it feel? What do those colors look like to you? I mean, and this went on for like 20, 30 minutes. And so it was one of those things where, you know, eh, you can give something to someone and it changes you. But this was powerful. And I thought, if I can repeat that feeling ever for anyone else again, that's worth everything. So that's how that story started. So we, fast forward a few years, moved here. And so that's when the decision really, I think, was made for me of, okay, do I go out, do I get a job, or do I take this thing that had ended up turning into a hobby while I was still married, into a business, a passion? And I'm thrilled that that decision was made for me and that I allowed it to blossom. No pun intended. Maybe there's a pun intended in
That's a total beautiful pun, if I may add.
that.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that. I mean, that is powerful. That shows that, not only it's like when that hobby that you're doing for you becomes something that can help others, like
Yes,
it yeah, like it just really changes the game with business. And so I'm very excited to have this conversation and dive in deeper.
me too.
So currently, so you said a little bit about the why behind your business and how let's like kick it off with how did you get started in Moss? Like then you moved here. So like how did you turn a hobby into a business?
So it was pretty funny because we had just gotten our house here. And so I took care of the kids all day. And again, this is COVID, so the kids are all home. So you're literally taking care of your kids all day. And but I would put the boys to bed at night, and then I would go into the garage and I would start mossing. And so that was where literally the business started, in my garage. And they would sleep, and I think I would maybe go to bed at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and then we would wake up, and they would do their homeschooling, and it would just repeat itself. And so then I started on Etsy and started a little company on Etsy, and it just blossomed from there. It really did. It took off. It really didn't take that long either. And I thought, my hope was that this would be something that would literally just pay the bills. This is something I could do that I loved, and it would pay the bills, and the boys and I could eat. And so soon I had to get out of that garage. And they were happy about that. They were tired of the moss everywhere. It was great.
Oh, so okay, so then what happened next? Like you got out of the garage, did you get a studio or kind of what was the next steps?
East Austin, I got a studio. And if memory serves, my first studio was 600 square feet, which to me was massive. I was like, oh my gosh. To this day, that your first studio is always like your, I don't know, it's your first. There's something so unique and special about it. And so I moved into the studio and I set up everything, and it was still just me and still making pieces. And I wanted to say I was maybe there 2 months, and I had my first corporate client call me. Now, mind you, I didn't have Google set up, Instagram. I think I barely had a website. So it was kind of, you know, sketchy, but I was driving the boys, and this wonderful man called me, very thick, heavy Texas accent. And I really thought it was a joke at first because he was asking about a very large moss wall for his business. And I, tried not to wreck the car while the kids are in the car. But that's how I got my first corporate client. And I've actually done for him one, two, three, four, 5 walls, and I'll be doing 2 more for 2 other locations of his. So from that moment, it turned from, you know, little ones for homes into, okay, corporate clients now. And so now today we're at a 70-30, I'd say, split of 70% corporate and 30% homeowners.
Oh, wow. Well, that's incredible, especially like seeing it grow literally and seeing this opportunity grow. And so you're currently like more B2B or like you're
Correct.
yeah, so you're more B2B 70% and then B2C 30. I'm gonna just
Yeah,
take
and that's probably a fair split. We did open up because I really wanted to give homeowners, but I wanted this to be something that is accessible for everyone. These things are not cheap. No matter how you look at them, they're just not. And there's many reasons for that. The amount of time that goes into them. It takes for specific types of moss. It can take for just 6 square feet a full week to glue all of that. So it's
Mhm,
the time that goes into it, it's the cost of it now with tariffs. So there's many reasons that all moss companies have high, they're expensive pieces. But,
mhm,
you know, so I didn't just want corporate clients to have these large, expensive statement walls. I wanted, someone with an apartment to have a piece, or someone in a cubicle to have something that they can just look at that's beautiful. Because it's
mhm,
amazing, these things aren't just beautiful pieces of art. There have been numerous studies that have gone into them on the physiological and the psychological effects of them. And like the story I was telling you about the little boy with autism, it's a real thing. It's a real impact on people to bring biophilic design, which is by nature means bringing nature indoors. It has an effect on us in a positive way. And so that's when we started the B2C. And so now we're selling some online too. So everyone can hopefully be covered across the board if they want to.
I like that. And I am like suck at houseplants, so this might be a really good solution for me.
It is. I'm telling you, that's what everyone will call, because we're still in that. And I love this because I love the fact that we're still in this phase of educating people what this is, because they
Mhm,
see it and it's different and it's pretty and it's this and it's that. But then they immediately go into the idea of, oh gosh, the upkeep, that's huge. I've got to water it. I've got to do this, that, and the other. Nope. These things are maintenance free. There is no soil. There is no
mhm,
need for sunlight. There is no need for water. There is no need for anything. It's literally like any other piece of artwork that you put up and you leave it alone. You do nothing
mm.
with it. But it is a plant.
Well, you mentioned something I want to kind of dive into a little deeper. You
Sure.
talked about educating people, so that leads me into your marketing behind what you're building. So, uh, what kind of marketing are you doing, especially getting yourself out there? You got your first corporate client. Like, how are you finding leads and growth in revenue?
Well, we've done, and I mean, the good news is that first corporate client was the beginning of 22 or 2022. So it's definitely blossomed since then. We have been incredibly lucky to, this is the first year that we are actually going out to get sales. Sales have been coming into us, and we have just been taking,
Mm.
versus going out and getting them. And it's been through Instagram, Facebook. Those have always been our go-tos. We have the biophilic beat, which is on LinkedIn. It's our it's we write different articles educating people on biophilic design, what it does, what it means. So it's different things that we do. We hit the expo circuit as well. So it's just different things that we'll do to get the message out. But I think the winning combination, I guess, if I was gonna like name it, is plants are wonderful, and biophilic design is wonderful, but you don't really think of it as funky and fun. So you think of it as, it's a thing that's wonderful. But so I think what we've tried to do is kind of make it funky and fun and put like a spin on it where it's, this is sustainable design. This is a wonderful thing for you to have in your life, but it's also, you can have fun with it and enjoy different colors with it and talk about it in silly ways and just enjoy yourself with it. And I think that's kind of where we've hit a nice little niche in the way we're getting our message out, is I guess the best way to say it.
Yes. Well, thank you for sharing about that. And you mentioned we, so I'd love to learn about your team. It's kind of a two-part question. What's your ownership structure? Are you the sole owner? And then I'd love to learn about the team that you've built and how many team members are on it.
So yes, I am the sole owner of the company. 100% equity is on me, good and bad. Good means that I own the whole thing. Bad is, boy, when things are a little bit rocky, I still own the whole thing. But nope, I'm the sole owner of it, and we're still mm, in that process of making the decision. Do we ever want to bring on investors? Which of course you do. If you want to scale, you have to. At least that's what I'm noticing. So I think this year we'll probably start talking to some folks about potentially those opportunities and what those would look like. Team, I love the uh, remote. We have a few that are always in house, but those are predominantly my assistants who help me create the walls. So when we've got, like right now, I think, don't quote me on this number, we've got about 300 square feet worth of walls that are needing to be made in 2 months. So I
Mm.
can't do all. So the people who assist me on those are always in house. But we also have we've got a couple of different sales staff. We've got one that's local, one that is out of Texas. I've also got a fractional COO. I've got different marketing divisions that are also remote. They were hybrid, I should say. So altogether, accounting, there's right now 18 of us all together and
Nice.
growing.
Okay. And growing. I love that. That's a great team you're building out. And um, I'm just taking a couple more notes here.
Yeah. And they're fun. What I love watching the people who, two sides of it, who come to ask about walls and potentially be a client and buy a wall. And I also love the people who come and ask about a job, because it's they have such a passion about it. They don't know anything about it. They want to know something about it. And as they learn more and more about it, it becomes a real passion for them. And so it's neat to create something that people can have such a passion for, and you can see that. And that's a lot of fun.
Oh, I love hearing that too. Kind of like switching gears slightly. I want to see about what the future looks like for you for the company. Looking at your next 3 to 5 years, where do you see the company going?
I would like for us to have divisions across the country. I'd like for us to have central, east, and west, for shipping sake, if for no other reason. Shipping these things is its own, it's a little bit much. Let's put it that way. So it'd be nice to have a few hubs that
Mhm.
were there. Definitely growth in the entire thing. And it's biophilic design and moss art does not just need to be on your walls. So I have done some very fascinating pieces in the floors. For example, I had a floor, it was a concrete floor that was trenched out, and we did backlighting along the sides, rocks and branches, as well as moss inside, and then glass on the top of it. And that was in a bathroom. So I'm like,
Oh,
biophilic design can be in so many different places within an environment. So I want this to grow beyond just moss walls. I want this to be integrated in different ways in environments.
oh, I bet that was gorgeous. I'm like thinking about that
So cool.
floor.
It was so cool. And I got to use the jackhammer to get the concrete. So this is even better. This is even better.
You're like, let's go,
That's
guys.
right. You give me a scissor lift and a jackhammer, and we're on. Oh, it was fun. No, it was
Oh, I
great.
think that's the best thing I've heard all day. Oh, well, that is amazing. So you're building out. Now I kind of want to cover some challenges because as business owners, it can be such a lonely place. So it's nice to just
Yes.
share the real thing. So what is something you're currently challenged with within the company that you're trying to either work through or pursue something? Is there anything out there that's a kind of
Well,
a challenge right now?
always. And I mean, if anyone tells you that owning a business is easy, they're not doing it right, or someone else is running it. I don't know what to tell you. But it is, and you use the word lonely. That is absolutely positively true. This
Mm,
is being a business owner is the loneliest thing. Even if you have passionate, believers absolutely in this with you, it's still your child. And that's what I tell everyone. I have two boys. This is my third child. Sometimes it's a 2-year old throwing a tantrum. Sometimes it's, 15 and it's doing all right, but it's still always a child who is in need. And
mm,
no one is going to love your child the way you love your child. They're just not. And so it's the and then plus on top of it, like you and I were talking about earlier, if you're a creative and this your creative company is your child, oh my goodness, you're just it's all over the map. But it's lonely.
mhm,
It's unbelievably hard work, but it is so, if you love it, and I really do mean this, if you love it, it is beyond gratifying. It is
mhm,
just so, there's nothing else like it. There really isn't, except for your own kids. I mean, it's
mhm,
like Christmas with them. When your business is thriving, it's doing well, it's growing. I
mhm,
think it's also super important to I'm reading a book right now called Between the Gap and the Gain. And I
mhm,
think it's so important to know where you came from and where you're at, so that when you're in that trough of this is hurting right now, you can
mhm,
say, yeah, but where was I a year ago? Where was I 2 years ago? And you're able to go, okay, man, that's pretty cool. I've been able to do this.
mhm,
And so I think that's super important. Tariffs have hit the moss, just like everything else. And so our prices have gone up. Um, I always like to look at circumstances like that, like I did COVID. So COVID actually helped my business because as everyone was leaving work, all of these plants and living walls were dying. So when they came back, they had all this, mold remediation, all of this stuff to deal with. Well, that's
mhm,
when I could come in and go, I can fix that for you. I'll take care of all of that. And so now it's the same thing with the tariffs. I'm looking at these tariffs. I'm going, okay, we do not have a lot of moss suppliers here in the United States. Most of it comes from Turkey, Poland, different regions. So these tariffs keep going up. Well, that just gives someone the opportunity to make some really good moss here in the United States and grow it.
yeah,
So that's kind of, take the bad and you look at it and go, okay, how can I potentially make this into something else?
Now, are you looking at maybe expanding into being a supplier of moss, or
Potentially.
that's really cool. I love that very solution-oriented approach to solving the problem of tariffs for sure. So that's really cool.
And I don't feel I don't feel that anyone should ever have to pay the cost of whatever reason it's not here. Whether it's a political reason or it just doesn't grow right here, whatever the reason is, something is not where you're at. You shouldn't pay the penalty for that with your hard-earned money. So if
Mm.
there's a way that you can fix that, make that solution to where it's an even playing field, why not? I mean, that's kind of what we should do.
And
Solutions.
solutions. That's very much the entrepreneur mindset. It's like, okay, there's a problem, let's create a solution. So I think
Yep.
that's a golden nugget of this conversation that I think a lot of listeners are gonna hear that and be like, oh yeah, like we can be the change.
Right. That's exactly right. It doesn't have to be, and I always, one thing I get all the time from my suppliers that I have, and obviously you don't have a whole lot of moss suppliers out there. So there's like a little niche of us and a niche of us. And they say, Mary, you are too you are too particular with your quality. And I'm like, thank you. That is the best thing you could ever tell me, man. It really, because if you get a reputation like that, that her quality is, oh my gosh, in other words, she's a pain in the butt because her quality is so high. That's awesome. That is fantastic. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way if you treat anything like that, then that is a compliment to yourself, what you create, and the way you envision things should be. And they should be filled with quality. They should be filled with solutions. And it should be that way, in my humble opinion.
Absolutely love that. Well, Mary, this has been such a fun conversation so far. Now I want
Mm.
to take us through a another part of the conversation that's really fun too. It's called our
Okay.
rapid fire Q&A, where I'm going to be asking you a few questions and just answer very top of mind.
Okay.
All right. Question number one is, what is a key to success for you?
Grit.
Yes.
I mean,
Love
if
that.
I don't care what's going on, everything can be falling apart. The dog's got an issue, the house is falling apart, whatever it is, you just got to keep going. It's
Very
great.
true.
Great.
Number two is, what is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
Know that this is going to be lonely, it's going to hurt, but give yourself a lot of grace. Don't
Mm,
stop. Give yourself grace and know not everyone can do this. Otherwise, there'd be a world filled with them. So give yourself some grace.
that's a big one. I love that. And number three is, if you could wave a magic wand and overnight rapidly improve one aspect of your business, what would it be?
Hmm. Oh my gosh, we're doing so well. I'd have a bigger studio already. We've already moved 5 times, no joke. But I would I would cut the lease down so you get a bigger one. So I think that would be, yeah, that's the top of mind.
Oh, well, I love that. And thank you for sharing about that. So thanks for answering the rapid fires. And
Yeah.
uh, before we get to our final question of the day, how can folks connect with you and your business online?
Oh, please email me directly, Mary at austinmosscreations.com. Go to our website, austinmosscreations.com. We're on Instagram, same feed, Facebook, same. We're on LinkedIn. Um, Phone number. I mean, there's several ways you guys can connect with us. So we are kind of everywhere.
Love
We're
to hear
floating
that.
ourselves out there. So yes, and always feel free. You know, I'll answer anyone's question, calls. I'll talk to anyone about anything. So always feel free to, reach out to me directly or any member of my team. We love what we do.
Oh, wonderful. Well, super excited to hopefully order a piece soon myself.
I love that.
Oh, so our final question of the day
Yes.
is what is most inspiring to you today?
This day today,
This
or
day
just in
today,
general?
in general, however you want to answer it is perfect.
My kids. My kids, no joke, I've got in my house, my 12-year-old has written on our little calendar, "Mommy, don't give up." So there are so many times that they're both soccer players. And I cannot tell you how many times I had an install and a soccer game at the same time. And they've said, "We're going to the install," like it wasn't anything. They have stayed at the studio with me on the weekends, until midnight sometimes. And they were fine as long as they had their little video games.
Transition.
But they are like, they see this business as our business. And I mean, for two little dudes to see it like that, that is beyond special. So yeah, those guys.
Oh, that is inspiring to me. And, thank you so much for just taking the time and sharing your story with me today. It was
Thank
a
you,
great
Kay.
episode.
This was wonderful. I had a great time. I appreciate it so much.